Hello and welcome to Quasi's Bell Tower with your host, Quasi. And today we're going to make an LED fireplace. And a fireplace you can use for your tavern and be proud of. So here you go, here it is. So let's get to it. Okay, so to work on this fireplace, I got some 1/4 inch, or actually I just cut down some foam down to a 1/4 inch thick. These are about 5 inch by 5 inch, roughly. The project will be a little bit smaller than that, but first I made a measurement of 3 1/4, and this is going to be how long this is going to be. So we'll go ahead and let's cut those down. Okay, the height of this fireplace is going to be 1 3/4 inches. So we'll go ahead and get that set and cut that through. Now we will do the length, which is at 3 1/4. And now we have our front and back of the fireplace. Now with the scrap pieces I have, I will go ahead and make the wall, and the walls are 1.5 inches wide. And make sure that you make sure that you do your measurements so that you know that your walls should be 1 3/4 inches tall, which they are, so that's perfect. So now we have our 4 walls right there. Next, for the front of the fireplace, I went 1/2 inch here on this side, 1/2 inch up here, and 1/2 inch here. And we're gonna cut the middle out. Okay guys, so all you do is run this through. You get to where you gotta get to. That point, hit that power switch, turn it, set it back up to 1/2 inch, make sure it is 1/2 inch, and then go ahead and run it the other way. And then when you get it to the other point, turn it off, turn it, make sure it's set at 1/2 inch once again, turn it back on, run it through. And everything works out good. You've got the front of your fireplace. So next we're going to do the top piece, and this piece is going to be a little bit bigger than the whole fireplace that we just did. We are going to set this at 3 1/2, and you're just going to use a piece, any scrap you want. We are going to make this a little thinner, but we're just going to set this at 3 1/2 and rip this through. Okay, then we're going to set it at 2 1/4 and rip that through. Now we're going to make this a little thinner, so we are going to drop this down to 1/8 of an inch thick. Go. Okay, before you assemble your 4 sides for your fireplace, make sure you do all your brickwork. I think I'm gonna go probably with 1/4 of an inch, because some of these pieces, like this one here, is 3 1/4, and if you go half, it's kind of jumping off. So I'm gonna go every 1/4 inch. Okay, so now I got all my brickwork done on all 4 sides, inside and out. Now, the way I did this is I went 1/4 inch wide on each brick, and then basically went, like, started here at 1/4 inch, then went a half, and then you basically kind of just, the next section you go 1/2 an inch all the way across, and then you go 1/4 and then a half, and you kind of basically follow the same pattern through the whole thing, and you just kind of test them out and line them up and see if they look good and everything else with it. It does take some practice, so don't be discouraged if you make some mistakes. One tip I can always tell you is when you're using your ruler and you're making your lines here, and let's say your lines here so you can draw your lines, make sure that it's always going in the same direction. You're not going like this and then like this, because you'll just goof everything up. So make sure this is always going in the direction, the same direction. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to use some of this tacky glue here, and we're going to assemble this. Okay, so before we assemble the fireplace, which more likely we may or may not paint it before assembling it, is we have to work on the chimney. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take 2 3/4 inch 3x3s that I have here, and I'm just going to glue them together with the tacky glue here, and then put some weight on, and then come back to it later when it's dry. Okay, for our next piece, we are going to do the floor piece. This is the piece the fireplace will sit on. I have a 1/4 inch thick piece of foam here that I cut. We are gonna go 3x4 on it. So let's go ahead and set this up. And there we go, our 3x4 for the floor. Now I went 1/4 inch thick because I'm going to be using these small little batteries you get out of Tealights, and I wanted to make sure it was just a little bit thicker than this battery, so it will fit in there when we put the LED in there. Okay guys, I also want to let you know that I put pins in here to hold this square. I wanted to make sure it dried square so there wouldn't be any issues. So now we have our floorboard here, or our concrete slab, or in this case I think it's supposed to be marble stone. And what I did is tried to center this the best I can, and from one edge here I go 3/8, and it should be exactly the same distance on the other side. And then probably a little over 1/8 inch, or you can go 1/8, but I want just a little bit of a lip there. And all I'm going to do is try to hold this down and take my pen and mark where I want this to sit. And right now my pen is not wanting to write, so I'll have to engrave it in there just a little bit. But I just want to mark it so it is marked where I want it set. So when I decide to put this together, there is no doubt where it goes. Next, we are going to put our battery down, and we're just going to draw a circle around it, so we know where we are probably going to put our LED light. Okay guys, so I have my circle. Hopefully you guys can see this. I got it traced out here, and I got the spot where the LED light's gonna go. So all I'm gonna do is take my X-Acto knife and gently and carefully cut this out. Okay guys, I was working with my LED board here that I made for the magnet, and I decided to do some modifications. So I took the original piece of foam that I put in there and I had tacked in there and glued, and popped that out, took the battery out and all that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back to the LED light that you just normally would get. These are the ones you get from Walmart on Halloween. I'm sure you can find them all year round too, but the smaller the bigger. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to clip a lot of this unnecessary trim away from it, and try to insert this back in there and see if I can't get this to work. I have to do a little bit of modifications, so let's see what happens. So I'm just going to go ahead and clip a lot of this off that we don't need. I'm going to try to keep the battery pouch piece still on there, the cap, as much as I can. Just clip a lot of this material away. So let's see, we'll just have to mess around for this. Looks like I'm going to have this part here, the battery, pretty much the switch part, show. I don't think once I put any glue on it, it'll hurt it. I think the only thing I have to worry about is making sure this switch here still works. So I am just going to have to try to fit this on there, realize where that is, and just make that hole on there just a little bit bigger. Okay guys, I got this LED light in there and I got it to sit flush. I just had to do a little bit of carving away and picking at it just so I could get this thing to sit flush. So now it'll sit flush and I can turn the switch on and off, no problem. The only thing is when I'm going to put some hot glue and stuff around this, so I'm hoping it doesn't mess with this part here. A lot of this will have to get covered up with just hot glue, and then when you put the wood, the timbers and stuff in there, it should cover it up pretty good. So hopefully you won't be able to tell it's even there except for the light. So we're going to get ready and start doing that. Okay guys, there is the fire pit, and then this will sit right on top of that bad boy. So that's what it'll look like, and that looks really nice. I really like that. If you guys want to know how to make one of these or to make the fire pit itself, maybe I'll do a video for that in the future. But as of right now, I just went ahead and just built it and just get it out of the way. I try not to make these videos too long, so if you want to see one, leave me a comment. Okay, so now I have my 3x3 brick. There's just 2 3/4 inch bricks put together, so you got 1.5 inches here to work with. So what I did here on the peroxon, if you guys can see this at all, let me change this up for you a bit, is the wire here is at an angle. It's at a 20-degree angle, and that's the angle I'm going to use. So all I'm going to do is set this up for 3 inches, so it should be the size of the block. Okay, 3 inches. I'll push this in just a hair. There we go. It should work good. And when I run that through, it'll run right through on that just perfect. So I'll make sure we got this at a good temp. I turn this bad boy on, and we'll run it through. And then I'll just go and push this in a little bit more, because I want it to be right on the line. And run this back through it again. And then what I'll do is I'll just turn it like this, back it up just a hair, and I'll run it through on all 4 sides. And then I'll do this one more time. I'll bring it in and run that through just like that. Now, I know I got myself a perfectly shaped pyramid, and that's not really what I was looking for, but I think it might actually just do, because the other one I did was like this. So I would have to make that a little bit better. Okay guys, so what I decided to do is take this and cut it down, at least one side, down to about 2 inches. It's a little less than 2 inches on this, but you could go 2 inches. I think I went 1 inch and 7/8 or something like that. So I'm just gonna turn this bad boy on and run it through. And now I've got almost 2 identical chimneys. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and paint this off camera. So there it is, the finished LED fireplace. Now what I did is basically I just used red paint with some black paint mixed in to do the red bricks. The top here, the mantelpiece type piece here around here, I tried to make it look like a marble stone because it's supposed to be marble in there too. And then the base here is supposed to be lava stone. And I didn't exactly know how to do it, so I just painted it black and just left it like that. Eventually maybe I'll do some, I could do another one and maybe try some wavy patterns in it like lava gets when it hardens. So there it is, the finished fireplace. I'm going to be using this fireplace in a tavern that I'm building called the Bloody Bucket. And the Bloody Bucket adventures are actually from RPGCrate. And you can go to RPGCrate.com and check them out. They're on their 2nd season. Their 1st season was mostly based around this tavern. All the adventures pretty much started in this tavern. So I'm going to build this because when I start doing these adventures, I want this tavern built. It's supposed to be 29 inches long and 14 inches wide, 2 to 3 stories high if I'm correct. I'm still on the 1st floor. But this is the fireplace for it. So if you guys have any comments or questions, you know what to do. And like always, ring that like button like a hunchback. Until next time.